Welcome back to another episode of the Super Real Estate Bros podcast. I am your host, one of your hosts, Brandon Snyder.
And I am Dave, your mortgage guy.
.com. And today we are actually at our newest location. We are trying something a little different today. You could say we brewed this one up.
I'm not saying that.
We are at Hebrews Coffee in the Woodlands. This is their second flagship location. Their first location is in Magnolia, and it's a really cool event space. They have, I watched this on their feed the other day. They have avocado toast flights. Have you ever had avocado toast, Dave?
Oh, yeah.
I was going to say, you seem pretty cultured and...
With avocado?
He's...
No, this place is awesome. You can even tell we have like fancy lighting. They probably can't see that, but like we stepped it up. We're a little bit more legit. So Super Real Estate Bros podcast. We're ready to dig into it?
Yeah, let's dig into it.
All right.
What's today's episode? What are we talking about?
We're going to break down, and I'm super excited to go over this with you and pick your brain. We're going to go over the long game, or as Simon Sinek likes to say, the infinite game when it comes to the real estate industry. I think this is a huge topic that very few people understand the importance and dig into it, and we're going to do that today.
We're in the end game now, Tony. Oh, that's not infinite, that's actually finite. Anyway, what does infinite mean? Give me a quick definition of infinite.
Goes on forever.
It does not have an end.
I thought you asked me what the definition was.
Yeah, I'm just confirming. I'm giving you confirmation bias.
So many times in the real estate business, everything is how many deals you're closing this month, how many deals you have next month. Oh my God, I'm having a great month, I'm having a bad month, a good year, a bad year. And it becomes like, commission becomes like crack. And we become like gerbils in a gerbil wheel where you're so focused on that next deal. For a lot of people, it's hard to build anything substantial with that mindset. And I think that's where I want to dig into the long game, the infinite game, and really go over some things that you and I did in our own businesses the wrong way, the changing of the mindset and all that stuff. So I actually brought notes of this episode.
I didn't.
I'm the prepared one today.
That's a first.
That is a first. That is a first. If I remember what we're going to talk about. So let's start off with this. I want to go over goals and having big ass goals.
Yeah, I think one of the things that people really don't do enough of is set this big, what do they call it? A big, hairy, angry goal or something like that. A BHAG, big, hairy, angry goal. And you've never heard that before.
Never. I was going big ass goal.
He's like, BHAG.
That's a little dramatic of a term.
But I think that a lot of people don't set a large enough goal bigger than their current work effort, their environment. I think there's a lot of people that just go, okay, my goal is I'm going to sell 25 homes this year or whatever. And that's fine. Like that, I think that's like having a number is really good, and it's really important that you set those goals. But when we're talking about big goals, we're not talking about this year. We're talking about the long haul. My goal as a real estate business owner is to bring agents onto my team and build their wealth and build a team that outlasts me. That's bigger than 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 100, 150 units a year. That's really what does the long game look like for us. And I really don't think enough people are putting merit into. I mean, we can talk about it now. Like we had set a goal this year to do 150 units. That doesn't set us up. I mean, you have to think what's past that. What does 150 units get you? What does 150 closed loan originations get you? It's not the financial income for the year. It's what's after that. What are we getting as a result of that significant income that we made this year? What does the growth of your team look like as a result of closing that many transactions?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think also even maybe more valuable when it comes to big ass goals is putting a goal further enough out that you don't know how to get to it. And that was a game changer in my business. Is my goals were conservative, and then probably 5 or 6 years ago, when I went to blow up my business, I put a goal that was so far out I didn't know how to get there, right? And so at first, I just tried to simplify, because the question is, how do you come up with this goal? What I did was I always wanted to double my business because I thought that was a big ass goal, right? Substantial, number wise, income wise, whatever, and wasn't sure how to get to it. So what I would do is I was closing 5 deals a month. Hey, my goal is to get to 10. And then when I got to 10, I want to get to 20. And when I got to 20, I want to get to 40, right? And did all those things and accomplished all those things. But by doubling it, it was easy for me to pick that as a goal, not have any excuses, and just say, I'm going to double my business. I'm going to double. And it worked for 4 out of 5 years. It worked for me. And I think what you start to see is you know what it takes to close. Like in that example, I knew what it took to close 5 deals a month on average. I didn't know what it took or what it looked like to close 10. And so then you dig into some of these other topics that we're going to dig into in order to get to that, right? And you can choose a goal, and I advise it. Choose a goal that you don't even know somebody who's doing. And I think that's okay. I think too many times in our business, I close this, but I really want to be like so-and-so in the office.
Right.
And they close it. That's dangerous because now I think me succeeding is going to look like that. And you can do it different.
But I also want to challenge the thought process on this. I think you're absolutely right. The comparison trap is such a nightmare. I mean, we just continuously can get caught in, oh, well, so-and-so's doing this. But if your goals aren't big enough, you need to get in proximity with people that goals are bigger than yours. I think that's so important here. I'm in agreement with you on the don't compare to other people, but if you want to know what success looks like, you're not looking within yourself. You're looking to the people around you that you know that are killing it. I can tell you that I constantly pick brains of mentors and people that are doing 5, 6, 700, 1,000. I mean, multi-millionaire people, because I know that when I go around them, I realize my goals aren't big enough. When I say, in my little ecosystem of a world, I want to sell X amount of real estate. I want to help X amount of families. I want to buy X amount of rental properties. And then I go start talking to people who are like, yeah, I'm going to go buy 200 doors this year of rental properties. And I'm like, oh, wow, my goals need to get higher. And I like to tell people that I shoot for the stars so that I'll land on the moon. I don't think that missing your goal is bad. I think that selling yourself short is bad and setting a goal that you know you can beat. I mean, this is comfortability, right?
If you hit your goal, there's a chance you set it too low, right? I know someone in my personal life who's a realtor, and she purposely puts her goals as something that's reasonable, so she's not gonna ever fail, usually with those goals. Put one further enough out. Ideally, your goal should be to not hit your goal.
Right.
Because otherwise you sell yourself short. Because if your goal is to close, 100 deals in a year, and you close 100, if you had made it 150, could you have closed 150, right? Now, I understand that's some frou-frou shit right there. But the truth of the matter is, mentally, this is setting yourself up, right? And surrounding yourself with the right people. You've done a great job with this. I'm going to advise people out there who are listening, do not be afraid to spend money to even get yourself in that room, right?
Yeah.
Like, don't cut corners, like, do it the cheap way. You're not going to get there. And that's one of the things on my list, that we'll dig into is spending money. Don't be afraid to spend money that you aren't sure if you're going to get a return, right? We've gone over that with virtual assistants. That was a lot of money up front that I was like, man, I may not make this back. It may not be a good move and I have to do it. But okay, so goals. Big ass, hairy, unattractive, ugly, fat goals, I think is what you called it. Unattractive. So that's number one. Gotta put it out there. Put something past there. The reason why is because then you're always going in that direction. And you said it. It may not be this year. That's cool. It may not be 2 years from now. That's cool. Whatever the goal is, put it out there and go toward it.
And if somebody's telling you your goals are unrealistic, you need to find new people to be around. Because if you come to me and say, hey, Brandon, my goals are going to be like this, you say, hey, I want to do this. In whatever industry profession you're in, you say, I want to do X. I'm going to say, okay, how are we going to get you there? Instead of, that's unrealistic. And I've heard people say, well, that's unrealistic. You want to know the most demoralizing thing? Being told that you can't do something. And in the entrepreneurial world, like most of us get motivated by that. They're like, hey, like you can't do that. I'm like, watch me. But for some people, they're going to go, well, so and so, who I respect their opinion or I trust their opinion, whatever, they're an influencer or whatever. They said you can't do that. Well, I guess they're right, and then you're going to go back to a life of average, and average sucks.
Correct. And don't be afraid to tell people your goals. It's kind of funny. You'll hear different schools of thought. Don't tell people your goals, or do tell people. I mean, don't brag and shove it in people's faces, but if the topic comes up, I will tell people, hey, my goal is actually close 100 loans in a month, right? And we're going to get there. I visualize it, I do all that. My team's all bought in on it. I'm not afraid to say that because I'm putting it out there.
Sure.
Right? And you do that on social media. You put some stuff out there that people love and support. Some people hate on you for it, but you're okay with it because you're like, if I know as your friend, if you don't put that out there, are you really that committed to it?
Yeah, and I think the biggest thing is pen to paper, right? Write down your goals. Write down the things that you really want to do and achieve. And it might not be a 90-day goal, but I'll give you an example. The other day we had a coaching call with our coach, and she said, "Hey, we're going to do a 1-3-5 again." Which those of you who may or may not have been at Keller Williams, that's pretty common in the coaching community and things like that. And when she was like, "Oh, it's a 1-3-5," I was like, "Oh man, here we go again." And then we actually did it, and it was like, "Okay, here's your outcome. Here's the 3 things that are going to get you there, and then here's a breakdown of each thing, 5 separate things that are going to get you that thing to get you to your goal." And when we broke down, I was like, "Oh man," I was like, this is achievable. I didn't think it was easy, but I was like, oh, we can do this. Like, this is something that we can do. And it was, in order to get everything, because I think our house is going to be done by the end of September or middle to end of September, depending on how much rain we get this summer. It was like, I need to make, and I'm putting this out into the universe so you can listen to this and feel motivated by this. I need to make, a minimum of $150,000 to make sure that we're comfortable moving into this house, that our bills are paid, everything like that. And in order to do so, we have to do 25 units, which some of you are like, yeah, like that's fine. Like that's what I want to do in a year, 25 units. I'm going to compound it into 3 months, which is super, super reasonable. So I went, and as David Goggins says, I'm taking souls.
Oh man.
Quick side note, please tell me you've seen the Joe Rogan podcast where he gets a birthday text from David Goggins and he reads it, and David Goggins,
Yeah.
Joe,
I saw that.
43 years ago today, you got a certificate for death or something like that. I was like, what? So really, we knew that the end result, we could get there. And we set a goal that was a little bit higher than what we wanted. So when we're talking about goals, go ahead.
All right. Which segues me into the next one, piggybacking off of coaching. Systems. Right? Now, anybody who's watching this, you could be an individual agent, individual loan officer, somebody who has a team, somebody who has 1 or 2 agents, somebody who whatever. One of the things that I absolutely greatly changed when it came to the long game, blowing up the business, the big ass goals, was systems. I became infatuated with scalability in systems, because one thing that you're going to realize, if your goal is to close, whatever amount of business. Let's go back to the 100 loans in a month type scenario, just for the sake of argument. Whoa, some of the systems you have in place now are not going to work, right? It works fine when you're dabbling in a couple loans. It's not going to do that. So you start to put systems in place to free up your time. This may be systems yourself, right? Meaning the first big breakthrough for me was every single day I had a certain sales activity. I didn't have that before. So Monday I do this, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. So when it comes up, what was your sales activity today? Did you make your calls? Did you do things? Every single day I had a specific task that I knew would get me going in the right direction. So I started to scale and systematize myself. Then as you add people on, everybody has to follow systems in order to scale it. And so finding the systems for yourself. Some of it may be automating. Some of it may be automating yourself or automating your employees to do it a certain way every single time. But that was huge for me, because now you're starting to make systems and plans based on that big ass goal.
Well, yeah, so I think you can, in my world, in the real estate sales professional world, you can break it down like this. So like if you're doing 6 to 8 transactions a year, You don't really have a system because you're selling once every couple of months, and Susie Q calls you to sell her mother's house. But when you start in the realm of 12, 20, 25, 30, last year I personally, with Mary, did 53 of our 60 transactions for our team. When we have these systems and processes in place at that level, it's scalable. But I will say this, there are pitfalls to this. There are pitfalls to scaling your business the way people do. We actually ran into it where we kind of put the cart ahead of the horse, and we ended up failing last year pretty significantly. And we haven't really talked about this a lot. We brought on 2 agents last year, and we didn't have the systems and processes in place to get them into production and get them to sell their own real estate. So what ended up happening was we ended up giving them business, and they had a hard time creating their own business, and then we had separation. So we didn't have the systems and processes in place, and then when we got with our coach and we're like, hey, because we actually hired a coach after this, things kind of fell apart. She was like, yeah.
Well, hang on. Things didn't fall apart. That specific.
Yeah, we had the separation. Like nothing fell apart from a business
standpoint. I think you're hard on yourself from the standpoint of I like that you guys put the cart before the horse on a lot of these things because it causes you to learn it quicker and faster. I think the people listening are going, I want to make sure this beautiful system is in place, and then
I'll tell you this: it's definitely ready, fire, aim when it comes to most. Like as a business owner, you have to be able to make a decision like that. Like if I go to you, Dave, and I say, hey, we need to save this file that's literally 3 days from closing, we don't have time to, okay, well, here's the plan, and this is what we're going to do. It's like, boom, it's getting done. But when we did notice that obviously there were going to be some drawbacks to that, right? The ready, fire, aim method. And what ended up happening is that we had some agents that joined our team, and I did not serve them correctly because I was like, boom, let's go. I expect you to move the way I do and do what I do. And now we have systems and processes in place. And I think when we're talking about our goals and when we're talking about the long game, these systems and processes, they'll be tweaked in the future, but a lot of what we're setting now is foundational. It should be able to be copied and replicated by anyone who joins our company.
Plug and play. Yeah. All the time I say, hey, when we put this into place, so now when you have that system, agent 1, agent 2, agent 3, that gets added to the team, you have the whole thing in play. Hey, what about my training? We already have a system. What about my marketing? We already have a system. Hey, how do I do? We already have a system. So now all that adding and doing, it's a shitload of work up front. It's difficult. There is the mistakes that happen that you learn, but man, when you get that in place, hire 1, 2, 3 through 50, way easier.
I think a perfect example is our onboarding document. Like when we hire someone and their contract used to be like 10 pages. Now it's a page and a half. This is what's expected of you. This is what This is what the team splits are. This is what's expected. Like this is when you're supposed to be in the office, or for us, we're virtual office. So hey, this is the team meeting. This is how many open houses a month you need to work. That's it. Cool, we're done. Okay, so now onboarding, I have recorded Loom videos. So when somebody joins the team, I have a CRM video ready for them to add 200 names into their database. That's a system. They add 200 names into their database. We're going to email their database every Friday with the team newsletter. Okay, that's a system. So marketing, when we're talking about our VAs, everything's done for you. It's a system. All you have to do is work open houses and create business, which is realistically, when an agent joins a real estate team, that's all that matters in the first 30 days, is closing a deal, getting a contract.
Going to the systems part of it, marketing has to be a system. If you want to massively market, man, you have got to streamline it to where it's a beautiful system that you know every day you're posting once, twice, 3 times, when the emails are going out, the videos, the editing, because I think you're going to start to see, and we are seeing, that stuff is taking up more and more time.
Right.
And people are losing track of, in our industry, losing track that, yes, it's important. It can't be 80% of your time important.
Well, and this just further supports the idea that we have to play the infinite game, because when we get bogged down in this, and we were talking about this in a mastermind yesterday. We have a weekly mastermind with our collaboration partners at EXP, and there was a lot of people talking about AI and how much leverage they're getting out of that in their business and how much time they're getting back. And it was like, that's great, but if you just once every few weeks plug into an AI, chat GPT, hey, write me a little blurb and I'm going to post it on Facebook. No, like we've adopted this whole process, this whole system around AI. My VA will, and she's going to see this, and she's like, "Yeah, I'm already working on it." All of the when I go into ChatGPT, there's a log history of her talking to ChatGPT for captions, for video descriptions, things like that. When we go into our newsletter that goes out every week, there's an article written by ChatGPT that our admin plugs in, and then there's things to do in Houston. That's the only live person article we do every week. But when we're talking about the long game, there is no reason why you should not be building your systems and processes now with AI. And I'm not going to spend a whole episode on AI, but I think that if you're like me and you overanalyze things and it's got to be in with these parameters and it's got to be in a square, I promise you, go look at AI and what it can do for your business, because you're going to leverage the crap out of your business, and it's the future. So I'll get off my pedestal on AI.
Yeah, correct. And I think AI, it's going to go even further from where we are currently. I think sometimes you're still having to tweak and change things like descriptions and that, but start using it, right?
Yeah, and just build a process around it. I think that's the thing, is that, and it comes back to the mentality. We're talking about mindset in a little bit, because this episode is the mindset of a successful business. Mm-hmm. But I think a lot of people don't have the mindset that they run a business. I think when I got first licensed, I knew I was a business owner. I became a business owner. I'm 1099. Well, I'm not anymore. Shout out to the IRS. We're in partnership. S Corp. So when I became 1099, I knew
that's gonna be a clip. That was gold.
And then just gonna our VA is gonna put like the gangster sunglasses and a hat and like a cigarette.
We gotta get the one where the glasses come down. I love that. That for sure we're gonna do that now.
But when I became a business owner, I knew it, and I think when we get into and look, I guess that's the difference between an average real estate agent and a real estate team or a business owner or whatever, is the understanding that you run a business. And even in your world. And let's talk about that for a minute, because I think a lot of people don't understand the mindset that it takes to be a business owner. They just think, I can go, everything's a write-off, and I'm a business owner, whatever. If you're a business owner, you own a Sensi, franchise, or, heck, whatever you have, I think there's a certain mindset that has to come with it.
There's an extra gear. I tell people all the time, those of us that are successful in business, there's an extra gear. You're always thinking on how to improve it. How can I tweak? How can I grow? The people who are done at 5 don't have that mindset. That's just the truth, right? And I think, too, when it comes to being a business owner and running it, it's 100% mindset.
Yeah.
100%. Once you have that mindset, you'll do it. And this is going to lead me into the next topic. One of the things that drives me nuts in our business, and you don't hear it as much anymore, but I did for the longest time, which is I handle everything. So you meet a realtor, and they'll be like, I handle it all. And I'm like, man, you already have a ceiling. Mm-hmm. Like, it's not even, and the funny thing is, it's commendable, yes, from the standpoint of you have a work ethic. I used to do it all. I did all of this stuff, and I closed more loans than most loan officers closed, even doing that. Great, kudos. The truth that matters, it almost killed me, right? And it wasn't scalable. Yeah. And so you'll hear agents, I do it all. And I'm like, that's not
great. You've just capped yourself at 25 units a year.
Correct. And quality of life is shit, right? You're going to get burnt out. You're going to be stressed. So my thing was, and this was a thing that I had to change, I thought having a team would dilute what I was doing. Customer service, right? There's going to be issues. No one does it as well as I do, blah, blah, blah. The truth of the matter is, if you find the right people, the team is massive, the concept. So finding the right people is difficult. I've hired and fired, you've hired and fired. That's part of finding the right people. But when you find them, you train them with systems. They have that same work ethic. There's a chance they're going to do just as well or better than you. And you have to know that, and you also have to swallow your ego.
Well, yeah.
Right? Which is...
Well, okay, so but here's the thing about that. I told someone this the other day in an interview. I said, if you leave me in 2 years because you're doing so well and you want to start your own team, I did my job. And if you're not that person with that mindset, you are not cut out for this business. I'm going to give
My
you.
people aren't leaving me. I'm just telling you now.
Sure, but
if they're listening,
If
not an
Sarah, if
option.
Sarah left you to start her own team, she would be one of your fiercest competitors because she's so good at what she does. But you would support her because she's had your back for so long.
Correct. I mean, if you bring the right people on and make them part of the team, they have a say and they're involved in it, they will. But no, but you're right. It's
I just use Sarah as an example because she's handling my loan right now. Shout out to Dave, your mortgage guy team.
So team. So there was. So going back to that concept, knowing that you need to add those pieces. Now, keep in mind that sometimes you want to envision that role of this person and what they do will free you up. So the number one thing, and we've talked about this before on podcasts, number one thing is transaction coordinators. It drives me nuts when I see an agent who's right on the cusp, hires a transaction coordinator, pays per transaction, then times get tough. And what do? Man, I'm just gonna do it myself. And then they save the $500. And then they're overwhelmed, they're burnt out, they're not doing the work that they need to do to blow up the business, right? And we're seeing that that's a much more, transaction coordinators are much more used now than they were a couple years ago. The next thing is the virtual assistant.
Right. Well, I'll challenge you even further on this transaction coordinator thing. So we were using a pay per file company, and when we were doing 6 to 8 deals a month, it ended up being more than what we're paying our salary.
That's a salary, yeah.
To our admin now, and I want to tell you this, like, don't listen to this and go think, oh, I can just go hire a ton of people. Like, that's not what we're saying. But what we're saying is if you have enough money to go on vacation 4 times a year, you have enough money to hire an admin. Like, that's just the truth. If you're going to do 20 units a year, you should hire someone that works for you full time. They handle your transactions, they handle your marketing, they do a lot of the things for you, they do your database management. And I used to think, oh, well, that's too much for them. But then you show them the vision. We're talking about long game, right? We're talking about the mindset to get you to multi-millions of dollars. You have to give them the vision. You have to say, and we did this with our current admin, we said, hey, we're going to, in 5 years, do 500 units a year. We want you to be a part of that. Therefore, you're going to start now at X amount of dollars. I'm not going to say it publicly, but we're going to start you at X amount of dollars. After 90 days, we're going to give you a raise. At the end of the year, we're going to do a performance review, and then by next year, we're going to bring you on an assistant to help you. So we'll have a listing coordinator and a buyer's coordinator. Boom, that fits in our vision. We've shared our vision, our 5-year vision, with prospective agents or admin staff that join our team, and now they're sold out to the vision. Something that's really important here is that if you're like, I can do it all myself, you will not be in business in the next 5 years because you're going to be burnt out.
You're going to get divorced. Your kids aren't going to talk to you.
Yeah,
you're not going to take care of your health.
Do your kids talk to you?
No, but I'm not burnt out, right? No, I mean, look, these are all factual things, right? It's not scalable. This is really hitting home. If you're struggling with those things, right? I'll speak for myself. My wife stays at home with the kids. She's very appreciative of the income for the bills to be paid, but there's a line. So she's not going to allow me to work 7 days a week, 24 hours a day to get to the next goal. You have to have this team in place. And look, there's going to be some pushing of some of those team members past their comfort zone and what they think they're capable of.
Right? But that's a leader, right? Like that's
correct.
When you're building for the future, it is your sole responsibility to not just be at the forefront and lead the charge, but also bring people with you. And I used to think that, oh, they'll just get there themselves. That's not leadership. Leadership is extracting, I'm going to share a very personal story about Dave. Dave has extracted greatness out of us multiple times when we've been down in the dumps and in our feelings about things. And Dave has said, no, like, I don't care if I have to drag you kicking and screaming. This is what we're going to do. This is how we get out of the situation. And Dave doesn't even work for me. I just send Dave files, right? So,
oh man, I feel like I'm going to cry. I'm actually touched by that.
Wow, that would be a first for the podcast. I think it's really important that you understand, if you're listening to this podcast, that this is not, there is no finite way to do things, right? We've trailblazed and we've done things differently. But these are suggestions that are highly indicative of successful people. If you model after the people who've done it before you, you don't have to go reinvent the wheel. You can sometimes, but follow those people. Go mastermind with those people. Andrew Franklin posted today. I thought it was really profound. He said, if you want to know what it's like to be successful in your industry, go write a check to someone to mentor you. And I was like, I'm not paying Dave. It's not happening. I just
Get it for free.
Yeah.
But I want to go back. I want to rewind real quick because you gave the perfect example of the infinite game and the long game. Going back to the transaction coordinator, perfect example. Hey, I can pay per, or I can commit and do it the big long-term way, right? Which is hiring an admin, having them transaction coordinate, having them help with marketing, having them do all these things. And now you made 2 or 3 steps ahead, all in that. And that was an example, right? Finite is, okay, I definitely need a transaction coordinator. I'm going to pay them per file, and now I've capped myself again. Versus train somebody to transaction coordinate and help with marketing and do all those things. So, so we went over that. We went over the team. Want to dig into this next one next, which piggybacks off of that again, which is spending money. One thing that I did horribly wrong early on in my career is I was very proud of myself that I spent no money on marketing. I did my blogging, I had my website, this was years ago. And fine, I did good with it, but I didn't spend money on learning more, taking care of myself, adding the team members, right? Because let's be honest, you hire that admin, let's just say an admin costs $35,000 a year, I have no idea, right? And you don't know if it's going to be a full-time job. You're not sure if you have enough work for them, but you're having to commit. And I didn't do that. I'm a completely different mindset now, which leads me into your thought process on spending the money in advance of that and not being afraid.
Do you think I'm going to Disneyland or Disney World in 4 weeks because I just want to go to Disney World and potentially get COVID for the 4th time?
I didn't know you were going to Disney.
I'm going to Disney World for 2 days because we're going to Orlando for a week for Shareholder Summit, which is one of the biannual conferences for EXP, where I get to go spend a week with people who make way more money than me. I think there's people who do less production than us, but I get to go mastermind with people. I get to go Ed Mylett speaking of mindset. I mean, Ed Mylett is a monster. We're not willing to stay stagnant. I'm always willing to go cut a check to go learn from someone. Last year we went to Fort Lauderdale, not because I want to go to Fort Lauderdale and I want to deal with June bugs and humidity, but because we spent 3 days with Sheer Rocket learning how to leverage our business, not just in the VA world, but also, my social media game skyrocketed as a result of going to that event. I mean, the whole reason that we have, almost 1,700 followers now on Instagram and whatever, I'm monetizing my reels, it's because I went and masterminded with people who were way smarter than me. And so, you're absolutely right. I think that we have to go spend the money on this. And I'm not telling you to go sign up for every Robert Kiyosaki seminar that you see and, oh my gosh, these other influencers are coming into town, I have to go to this conference. If you want to know, I'm going to give you 3 people right now that if they come to your city, you should sign up for their classwork. That's Tom Ferry.
Oh man, I'm going to stop you.
Oh yeah, you just did a Tom Ferry thing, right?
I just heard Tom Ferry speak for the first time. Holy shit. The guy was amazing. The mortgage industry as a whole, and I'm going to get yelled at for this, the mortgage industry as a whole doesn't have a lot of coaching options. And some of them their styles are very stagnant and old school. And so I've always tried to find my coaching and mentoring and options and learning outside of the mortgage industry. Tom Ferry, unbelievable. The guy shoots it straight, gives you meat and potato information. I literally saw him speak for maybe an hour and walked away with 3 things, if not 4 things I plan on using in my business immediately. And I'm not even a realtor. Right? And that shows you how valuable someone like Tom Ferry. So sorry, yes.
No, I've never seen Tom Ferry. I watch his stuff and I have a lot of friends who are coached by him or coached in his coaching ecosystem. I think that the other person that I would highly recommend is Tony Robbins. I've been to a couple Tony Robbins events and it's just been absolutely incredible. And then I'd recommend Grant Cardone. Like those are people. It's also 3 different styles of teaching. Like Tom Ferry is more like us. Like I'm your buddy. Like oh Dave, you killed it. Podcast is over. And more like he's definitely more along the lines of like he's the friendly guy. Tony Robbins is I'm gonna hype you up, very different style. Like everything's like Tony Robbins, yeah, and that's his thing. I actually had a really emotional and crazy experience with Tony Robbins.
Oh, you're gonna share that, right?
No, for another podcast. And then
that sounds.
And then Grant Cardone is just a sales master. I mean, I really believe in the way he looks at business. He's always looking at it. He doesn't look at it as a very finite thing. He's always looking to get creative and build his wealth in his portfolio.
So a couple of things there. One is Grant Cardone was massive in my career a couple years back, and mainly because he had a book called Obsess or Be Average, I think, something like that. Unbelievable book. And one thing that he says is, if you don't know who I am, there's something wrong that I'm doing. So my marketing, if you really dig it down, is based on that everybody in my market should know who I am. If you don't, that's on me for not doing a good job with it. And here's the thing, if you're tight and you're starting your career off and there's only so much money, YouTube is a gift.
Yep.
For years, my YouTube was just rotating videos of Grant Cardone, Tony Robbins, and so, hey, spend 30 minutes and either get the hyped up motivation that you need,
yep,
or the nuggets that you need. Tom Ferry is going to give you nuggets, right? So surround yourself with that. You're getting the same result on a budget until maybe you can get further along or spend the money. But man, just being put in a room with any one of these guys, and I've been in the room went to Tony Robbins events before, was in the room with Tom Ferry. I don't think I've seen Grant Cardone in person. Just that.
Let me give you a quick tactical thing before we hop out of the proximity as power talk on this long game. If you're scrolling right, let's just say that this ends up on a short and you're watching or a reel or a TikTok or whatever they're called these days, you can make the algorithm work for you. If something comes up and you see a singular business video that you really like I really like the speaker, and you like it, and then you follow that person, the rest of your reels are going to start showing up that way. Okay?
Correct.
Stop doom scrolling. Stop watching all the crap that you hear and all that. Start soaking up information. You're like, hey, I can't afford to go to this event. Great. I don't care. Start consuming content, and I promise you, when I'm on YouTube, when I'm at my desk and I'm on YouTube and I see certain things, I'm like, oh, my mindset for the day just got better because I listened to, this person and I watched their content and they got me hyped up about this thing. And, I think that that's so important.
You have to. It's all mindset. Literally, when you break this down, the entire podcast is based on this. I'm going to leave you with this. One additional thing to keep in mind is improving yourself personally. Health, mental health, eating, meditating.
Oh, man. Yeah, we got to dig into this. Okay, so...
Oh, really? All right. This is going to be a long-running podcast.
Well, yeah, we're already
2 hours in.
Yes. 18 hours later. Okay, so a lot of you know that I got kicked off rides at Universal last year at Shareholder Summit. And so that was a very traumatic experience for me because I never thought I was that big. And then I look at some pictures now and I'm like, dang, dude, I was fat. I'm not fat shaming anyone, but my health was super bad. I had a hernia last year. I had hernia surgery, and they're like, yeah, you're borderline pre-diabetic. And I'm like, well, what is that? That you're either pre-diabetic or not. And they're like, you're close. And I'm like, oh, diabetes runs in my family. So after the hernia surgery, around January, there was a moment where I was like, I got to do something. I was like, how can I lead people around me to be the best versions of themselves when I literally eat Taco Bell 3 times a week?
Can I ask you what that exact moment felt like and how it hit you?
Man, it was just, it wasn't anything like I woke up and it was like, thank you, God, for this clarity. But I think I woke up one day and I mean, can we get real? Can I talk about it on the podcast?
Yeah.
I'm hoping Mary's going to kill me for this, but I didn't look good naked. I didn't want to be, and this is going to be real stuff, I didn't want to be in a emotionally intimate place with my wife because I hated my body.
Man.
And like, then I go and try and lead people on my team to live a better life. And I'm like, dude, I'm a fake. Like, if I can't take care of my own body, and it's not just leading my team, it's leading my spouse, leading the energy in the business, and leading, the people around me and our collaboration group, the people that choose to partner with us at EXP. I'm just like phoning it in. And then it was like, okay, I got to do something. And so I did. I reached out to a friend who had done this program she's also in the real estate field, and it's called Octavia. This isn't a plug for them, but it was what worked for us for our busy lives because we're always on the road. And so since the hernia surgery, I'm down 60 pounds. I'm down 50 pounds.
That's crazy.
Today is April. What's the date today?
I don't know. April
It's less than 3
19th.
months, and I'm down 50 pounds from starting the program, and down 60 pounds total. I haven't been this weight since before Mary and I met.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so
That's a huge accomplishment.
You want to talk about the long game? This is the long game for me. This is how I show up every day for our clients, for our business, for our potential family that we may start or whatever.
Oh man, I hope you guys do. That'd be awesome.
We don't know if that's a possibility, but we've talked about adopting and things like that, and so we have to show up. And Mary's doing it too. She's lost 30 pounds.
Yeah, Mary's done fantastic too.
I mean, she's always been a dime to me, but she's.
You can't.
I feel like Will Smith. I just always do this in front of her, like just to show her off.
No, you guys have a great relationship. You cannot accomplish massive stuff if you're cutting corners in some of that. You can't be sluggish, tired, not have the energy, and think you're going to wake up and kill it every day.
Oh, and we got sober, which I don't know if that's going to last, just because it's part of the. We got sober because of the diet. The diet is very, very like no extracurricular stuff. I mean, I even had a cigar like a month ago and got really sick because I hadn't had one in months. I don't know if we're going to keep the sober part, but I tell you, I've had some clarity since then. I don't really have a desire to drink alcohol. I don't really have a desire to have a margarita when I go have fajitas, right? I just don't have that. So anyway, my point being is that when you run a business, or even you're just leading your family, you cannot lead people to something that you're not willing to do yourself. And in our business, we have to push people to the best versions of themselves.
And the more wins you have based on this hard stuff, the more you start to realize you're capable of a lot more. And I'll tell you this, while you're going through it, enjoy the journey, and over time look back at some of these accomplishments, because you're going to hit roadblocks. You're going to get kicked in the butt. Your numbers are going
Not to be confused with Roblox, the game that your children all play.
Yes, Roman plays it. So you've got to. I lost my train of thought. Going back on the journey and finding those things, right? 5 years down the line, go back and look at some of those times you did some crazy, massive things that caused you great success. Be grateful for those, and those give you examples that you're capable of greatness. Man, this podcast seemed to go in a corny direction, but that's true, right? I look at some of the stuff I did, man, I went from 5 to 10. That was massive. Then went from 10 to 20 units in a month. That was massive. Well, now when I hit a roadblock, I can be like, dude, I've already done this 3 or 4 times before. I'm definitely capable of it. Let's get to work and figure out how the hell to do it.
Yeah, right now there's a lot of real estate agents that are struggling. I mean, I talk to people all the time, hey, I'm going to go get a job, or I'm going to go do this. And it's like, man, you did this before already. The market didn't change, your mindset did. I mean, I'm just going to be real. Like we took 4 listings this week. That's the most I've taken in a week ever, and we used to sell 6 homes a month consistently.
There's 2 people in this business. They're the ones who are either looking to get out or wondering when rates are going to go down, as if they're going to magically get saved. And then there are the rest of us who are going, ooh, it slowed down a little bit, but man, it gave me this window to work on these things, the foundational things to start to work in place, because we all know that when you then get busy, which will happen and is happening, but in general will happen, you don't have as much time to do certain tasks that we're capable of doing. I've spent the last 6 months, 7, working on massive things in my business that the previous 3 years I couldn't do.
Yep, 100%. And I want to, I'm not saying this like, oh my gosh, like, because we had a couple of months where we were just doing a few deals and kind of we were struggling, but then I was like, man, I just got to take action. I need to take massive action. And then it was like, all right, let me get back into our database. We've been texting past clients, texting our sphere, like trying to get into the long game.
Yep.
And because right now the short game is, oh, interest rates are high. No, they're 5.5%. In 2019, it was close to this. So you're just mad because prices are higher and because you're locked into a 2.8 that you bought 2 years ago. I get it. I don't want to sell my house. I'm going to, but I don't want to because it's 2.875. However, my mindset is that I am going to achieve greatness because that is what I was put on this earth to do, and I'm going to take anyone who has an inkling of wanting to be great with me. I don't care if you have a small desire or a large desire to be great. If I see it in you, I'm taking you with me because I want to take the people around me with me. But you have to be willing to do it. I want to wrap this up by saying this. There's no such thing as a bad market. 2008, friends of mine, and you did it. Short sales. They adapted. They changed.
I made it through.
Yeah.
I got into doing loans after the crash. I literally got into the mortgage business of originating loans. I was in the mortgage business since 2001. I got into starting and originating loans as a loan officer in 2008, the worst time.
Yeah. You have all of the tools around you to do it, and reach out to people that are doing it at a higher level than you. I can tell you that, people aren't closing as many transactions as they did last year. Or maybe you're struggling in hiring people or whatever. There's people that you can immediately put in your vicinity that are going to help you get to that next step of your business. Or you just have to have the mindset about it.
The mindset. It starts there. Then the rest of these things fall into place from there. It's amazing when you change your mindset, how the stuff starts popping into your view.
And it comes down to just like calling someone. Like I call Dave like once a week and I'm like, hey, my mindset's out of whack. And he's like, he just changes it by telling me like the things I already know. I already know I'm good at what I do. I already know that I'm changing lives by selling real estate. That's what we do. It's really what comes afterwards is just an affirmation that we're doing what we're supposed to be doing. And it's just a matter of time before the breakthrough happens. But we have to put in the work.
All this morning, I couldn't shut up for about 30 minutes. I'm like, I'm right there. I'm right there. I'm right there. Holy shit, I'm right there. I feel like it's coming. It's coming. And when you get that, that's your body and everything telling you that it's going to happen. So this was awesome. Hopefully everybody got a ton out of this. It's a game changer if you commit to it.
Yeah, I mean, if you just commit to the mindset and building that mental fortitude around the affirmation that you're going to be okay, you're going to be better than okay, you're going to be great.
I'm Dave Your Mortgage Guy. You can find me everywhere on social media, on YouTube specifically as Dave Your Mortgage Guy.
.com?
.com.
Yeah, and I am Brandon Snyder, team leader of Selling with the Snyder Group. You can find us at Selling with the Snyder Group across all social media platforms. Bye.
Bye, guys.